Welcome to another edition of Chaplain John with Chaplain John Sayers, featuring special reports and interviews with people doing kingdom ministry in Tulare County and beyond. And now, here's Chaplain John.
We all have a book within us. We all do. Some just actually get it down on print. My question for you, and maybe for myself right now, is will my book, be a comedy or a tragedy? Okay, that's where we're going to go with this thought. Hey, again, this is one of my YouTube / podcasts. And if you're listening on podcast or you would like to listen to my podcast, here's how you get to my podcast: chaplainchat.podomatic.com, chaplainchat.podomatic, spelled PODOMATIC.com. Well, I was thinking about that comedy and tragedy theme. And let me define. Now, this definition of a comedy and tragedy goes back to ancient Greece. In simple terms, that means this: the main difference between a comedy and a tragedy is a comedy is a humorous story with a happy ending, while a tragedy is a serious story with a sad ending. The tragedy for me is I can understand, but I think I want to define a little bit more of what I think a comedy is. It's interesting. I look back on my life, and I bet you can too. And you can see parts when you're going through this. We call it going through the valley of the shadow of death. I don't know if we could see it very funny. There's nothing to laugh about. I have some very good friends, and I bet you do too, that are going through some tough times. For them to even think that this is a comedy, no way. But when I look back at some of the tough times I've been through, I know that God has been with me, and it's turning out okay, or I know it's going to turn out okay someday. That would be a comedy. It's funny. Now sometimes I'm going through these events, and you just got to laugh. I got to laugh at myself. I've got another book that I'm exploring, and I think I might be, with this other book, I think we're going to call it the Sayers moment. I'm going to have my wife be a part of that. She's a Sayers. My daughter, Erica, and my son, Andrew. But you see, at Sayers moments are moments that we go through, and well, you look back, you got to laugh at it. Sometimes we can laugh at it while we're in it, but Sayers moments, I bet you have moments too where you go, oh, really? Or you do things dumb, or some things happen to you. You call them that's going to be a fun book. I have a good time with my family writing that one. But let's go back. You see, I'm starting to see a comedy is not always being happy. And I got to play around with this idea. When we even look at the Beatitudes in Matthew 5, 1 through 12, some translations will say happy. I'm not crazy with the word happy. I like the word blessed, because happiness depends for me on what happens in the world around me. We had some rain the other day. Oh, it was joyful. We needed rain. I was happy. When I eat something I like, I'm happy. But there's a lot of things in this world that I'm not happy. I'm not happy about. But I can be blessed because I know God is with me. See, that's what I am starting to define more as a comedy. I'm going through the storm, or even though I go through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil because I know your rod and your staff, you comfort me. That to me, I'm starting to see that. See, the older I get, the more storms I see around me. Today, look at what's going on in our country. I've never known our country to go through so many storms. Maybe we have had them in the past. I don't remember. In 71 years, this is difficult times for our country for a lot of reasons. So we're not happy about them. Physically, as I get older, There's some things happening to me physically. I'm not crazy about, you know. And so these are the storms I'm going through. I'm not happy, but I'm reminded in many ways God is with me. And there is the comedy. Um, it's, you know, I remember, I cracked me up. I remember doing a Bible study when I was pastoring in one church. I had about, 10 or 15 little old ladies, and they're in their 80s and 90s. I had a blast doing a Bible study with them once a week. It was a real thrill. And we met in a bar. Yeah. Actually, it was a restaurant, but behind the restaurant was a bar. That's where we had our Bible study. And the ladies, whenever they brought somebody new, they always loved it when I did this. They would say, "Oh, Pastor John, I brought somebody new." And she might have been in her 80s and 90s. And I looked at her and I said, "Can I check your ID? I need to find out if you're old enough to come to this bar." And they all laughed. They did that purposely. Well, I remember and these ladies were so much fun. And I remember one lady, she was a hoot to be with. She said to me, "You know, Chaplain," or excuse me, she said, "You know, Pastor, we talk about this golden age of retirement." I go, "Yeah, okay, I guess." "Well, it's just a bunch of hooey." Because every day I wake up, I have a new pain that I didn't have before. And I didn't know what she was talking about, but I do now, you know. And, you know, and you're not happy about these things. There's some things going on with me I'm not happy about. But again, I need to be around people that remind me that God is with me. And I know I'm going to be blessed. One more thing I want to share with you about this tragedy and comedy. How we determine it is going to determine who we have as a guide in our life. You see, we can let the world be our guide or Satan be our guide and all these such arounds. And if that's going to be our guide, our life will be a tragedy. If you let what you see all around you determine what's going on within you, trust me, you will have a tragic life. Jesus said, "I've come that you might have life and have it abundant." Abundant means, Lord, I want you to be my guide. I have a friend who has a business, and I was big on his whiteboard. He puts, "Jesus, take the wheel." When we let Jesus take the wheel, we will have an abundant life because God is going to be with us. And that is, you know, the tragedy and comedy of life is defined. Are you letting you be your guide? You know, okay, I have another ending to this. And I have a scripture I want to end with. But there's a song that comes to my mind. Because you see, if Jesus is our guide in this life, we will have a comedy of life, right? Because he's with us. Because we know no matter what happens in this world, it's not our home. When you have a relationship with Jesus, this world is not your home. There's a better world coming. And that kind of reminds me of a song we used to sing as kids. Maybe you sang it. It went like this. "This world is not my home. I'm just a passing through. My treasures are laid up somewhere beyond the blue. The angels beckon me from heaven's open door, and I can't feel at home in this world anymore." I love that song. I have another passage for you that defines whether you're living a tragedy life or a comedy life. You may have never even thought about this scripture. Let me give it to you. Let me share it with you. See, in Matthew 5:25, 34 through 40, it says this. "Then the king will say to those on his right hand," Jesus could be talking here to, but he says, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father, take the inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of this world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me." Then the righteous will say, Lord. And by the way, I want to define righteous as those of us who have a relationship with Jesus. And they'll say, Lord, when did we see you hungry or feed you or thirsty or give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in or needing clothes and clothed you? When did we see you sick or come and visit you? And the king will say, truly I say to you, whatever you did for the least of these, brothers and sisters, you did for me. Bet you never thought of that as defined as a comedy, huh? And because when we have that relationship with Jesus, we're going to be what Jesus wants us to be. We will do those things. And we will get a taste of the comedy right in this world. And someday, oh, we will, and we'll laugh. Even in this world today, we can laugh because we know, Jesus, you're with us. But someday, we're going to be in a land, those of us who have a relationship with Jesus, it's going to be fantastic. We are really going to experience a wonderful comedy. And are we going to laugh? Oh, will we laugh today? Is your life a tragedy? Or is your life a comedy?